4 AAA games, 4 massive budgets, 4 promises of next-gen greatness. But here's the real question: are they actually worth your time and money, or are we just paying extra for hype? Today on WIG we are breaking down Starfield, Cyberpunk 2077, Hogwarts Legacy and Baldur's Gate 3. No nostalgia, no marketing slogans, just one simple test. Do these big budget giants really earn their price tag? Let's start in space. This was supposed to be Bethesda's big space dream. Instead, it feels more like a very expensive space routine. Starfield is a sci-fi RPG set in a future where humanity has spread across many star systems. A war has ended, but tensions are still there. You play as someone who gets involved in a mystery about strange artifacts that could change everything. At least, that's the idea, because the main story starts with promise, but quickly turns into something very basic. Predictable plot, flat characters, stiff dialogue, and missions that often feel the same. Ironically, the real interesting stories are in the side quests. Faction missions are diverse and fun, fighting alien threats, working for corporations, or playing space cowboy. If the main plot had this quality, the whole game would feel very different. The art design is fantastic. Spacesuits, ships, cities, everything looks carefully crafted. Each major location has its own identity. One feels like a futuristic capital, another like a cyberpunk hub, another like a western town. Combat is also enjoyable at times. There is a wide range of weapons and shooting feels solid. Ship combat can become interesting too, especially once you invest in upgrades and skills. Base building is another nice optional system. You can create outposts and expand them if you want, or ignore them completely. And yes, sometimes the game really is fun. Core experience 6.8. The game talks about exploration, but actually avoids it. Instead of freely traveling through space, you mostly fast travel through menus. Flying your ship often feels limited, almost like moving between small arenas. Space itself feels strangely tight. There are also too many loading screens. Navigation in cities can be frustrating. Quest markers don't always help, and strangely, there's no proper city map. Combat becomes repetitive over time. Enemy AI is weak, and many fights feel the same, especially near the end. Technically, the game shows its age. Animations are stiff, faces look awkward, textures can be rough, and the engine clearly struggles sometimes. There are bugs too. Broken quests, glitches, crashes, nothing catastrophic, but enough to annoy. Time value 7.0. Starfield has great ideas and strong style. The execution is only okay, and for a massive big budget project, okay just isn't enough. Promising but painfully average. Core experience 6.8. Time value 7. Price 40. WIG 7.9. At nearly an 8, this lands right on the edge. It's a good game, but not strong enough to fully justify full AAA price. On a solid discount, absolutely worth it. Full price, only if you are a big Bethesda fan. So that was Starfield. Huge scale, big ambition, beautiful style. But ambition alone doesn't make a masterpiece. Now let's jump from quiet space menus to one of the loudest comebacks in gaming history. Night City is waiting. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those games that can impress you and annoy you, sometimes in the same mission. This is an RPG set in Night City, a dark future ruled by corporations, technology and ambition. You play as V, a mercenary trying to become someone important in a city where power always comes at a price. But things change fast when a stolen chip connects your fate with Johnny Silverhand, a digital ghost of a rebel who once tried to burn the system down. Your story stops being about fame and starts being about survival. The story is the strongest part of the game. It pulls you in and keeps changing direction in interesting ways. Side stories are not just filler. Many of them shape the ending and feel meaningful. The world is also incredibly well built. Night City feels real, with its own rules, cultures and social tensions. Character progression gives you freedom. You can play as a stealth hacker, a gunslinger or a mix of both. Gameplay feels solid. Driving is much better than many people expected. And the music? Easily one of the best parts of the experience. This is a deep RPG that actually lets you shape your own version of V. Core experience 9.0. Now about the problems. First, the big one, trust. Yes, the game is in a much better state now. Most of the serious bugs have been fixed, but people remember how it launched. Unfinished, broken, and full of problems. Even if it's repaired today, that first impression did real damage. Second, the open world busy work. A lot of activities feel generic. They exist mainly to fill the map, not to tell a great story. And map itself can feel overloaded with markers. Some players will love having endless things to do. Others will look at it and think, do I really need all of this? Time value 8.5. Cyberpunk 2077 is a strong RPG with a world you can get lost in. The story, characters, music and atmosphere are the real highlights, but it also carries the weight of its launch and the open world can feel stuffed with filler. Final verdict, could easily say this game is worth buying even at full price. And since it often drops to around half of that, at that point it's simply a must-have. Core experience 9, time value 8.5, price 60, WIG 8.8. This one earns its price now. Cyberpunk shows what happens when a game falls hard, but then fights its way back up. Strong story, strong world, a second chance well used. Now let's trade neon streets for moving staircases, from chrome implants to ancient magic. Time to visit Hogwarts. This is the Harry Potter game fans waited decades for, and somehow it almost feels worth the wait. Hogwarts Legacy is an open-world RPG set in Wizarding World, but instead of retelling the story we already know, it lets you create your own student and live your own magical life at Hogwarts. You join the school as a 5th year with a rare connection to ancient magic. Of course, this power attacks trouble, including Goblin Rebellion and a dark wizard who want that power for themselves. The world is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, and it works. Hogwarts is huge, detailed and alive. Moving staircases, ghosts in the halls, living portraits. It feels like stepping into the films. And the magic is not just cosmetic. Fast travel uses flu flames. Tracking clues uses Revelio. Menus look like pages from a magical book. It's a classic open world game, but everything is smartly wrapped in wizard logic that helps the familiar mechanics feel fresh. The castle alone could carry a full game, but there is also Hogsmeade, the Forbidden Forest and the Scottish Highlands, all changing with the seasons. The story has ups and downs, but some character-driven side arcs are surprisingly strong. Sebastian's storyline in particular brings real emotional weight and even forces a difficult choice. Combat is also better than expected. You mix spells, dodge attacks, break shields and use ancient magic as a kind of ultimate move. It's not revolutionary, but it's engaging enough. Exploration feels meaningful too. Puzzles and collectibles are tied to gameplay rewards, not just map clutter. Core experience 8.6. This is still a very traditional open world under the magic. The loot system is messy. You constantly open chests without knowing what is inside, often getting useless gear. Inventory fills up fast, and upgrades feel unclear and barely noticeable. Combat variety is limited over time. Stealth exists, but AI often makes it too easy. Broom controls can be frustrating. The camera struggles to keep up during sharp turns. Visually, most of the game looks great, but some NPCs' faces lack polish, and you may notice pop-in when flying across the world. The main story also slows down in the middle, repeating similar tasks before picking up again. Time value 8. Under the surface, this is a familiar open-world formula, but the Harry Potter magic doesn't just decorate it, it transforms it. Not groundbreaking, but surprisingly strong. Core experience 8.6, time value 8, price 60, WIG 8.3. Not revolutionary, but polished and immersive, enough to justify the cost. If you love the Wizarding World, full price is sensible. If you are unsure, grab it on sale and it becomes a very safe purchase. Hogwarts Legacy proves one thing: sometimes atmosphere can carry an entire experience. But now we are leaving guided open world structure behind. No glowing quest trails, no hand holding, just dice rolls, freedom and chaos. Let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3. This game had no right to succeed. A sequel to a legend after more than 20 years that usually ends in disappointment. And yet, Baldur's Gate 3 actually pulls it off. Baldur's Gate 3 is a classic style RPG based on the rules of Dungeons and Dragons. You build a character, you gather a party, you explore a fantasy world full of choices, consequences and chaos. Instead of copying the old games, the developers kept what mattered the most: the world and the companions, and rebuilt everything else for modern players. The biggest win here is freedom, and not the fake you can choose A or B kind. In most RPGs, a locked building means fight your way in, talk your way in, or sneak in. Here, you might turn into an animal and crawl through a whole stack crates to reach a balcony, distract guards with music or use magic to move something from a distance. The game rarely lets you figure things out. Combat is also deep and creative. It's turn-based and built around D&D rules. Height matters, environment matters, you can push enemies off cliffs or light arrows on fire. There is always something smart you can try. Characters and companions are another highlight. They feel like real personalities. You won't please everyone. Some may even leave you. Your race and class also affect how the world reacts to you. You don't feel like a generic hero. You feel like someone specific. And the world itself is packed with secrets. Entire dungeons, bosses, and story content can be missed if you don't explore. Curiosity is rewarded. Core experience? 10. The game relies heavily on dice rolls. Sometimes luck decides everything. A weak character may succeed where a strong one fails. That can be frustrating. There are also some technical issues. Animation glitches, minor performance drops, quest bugs, nothing dramatic but noticeable. The biggest problem comes later in the game. In the final act, things lose some depth. Class-specific dialogue appears less often, and some endings, especially darker ones, feel rushed. After such a strong journey, the final doesn't fully deliver. Time value? 9.7. Baldur's Gate 3 is almost perfect, but its freedom, characters, and creativity push RPGs forward in a real way. A few rough edges and a weaker ending hold it back. Core experience? 10. Time value? 9.7. Price? 60. WIG? 10. A game that fully earns its premium tag. Even at full price, it feels like you are getting more than you paid for, and that's what must buy really means. 4 AAA games, different budgets, different risks, very different results, and that's the point of WIG. It's not about is it popular, it's about is it worth it. If you want more smart buying decisions in gaming, subscribe. This was WIG, see you in the next one.